So here's two different ways to sharpen a knife on a whetstone. So I'm going to use this little knife, and there's two kind of different ways you can sharpen. First off, we're going to start with typically how I do it. Now with this method, I start with the tip first with the edge of the knife facing towards me. So what I'm going to do is set my knife on my angle block to get me my 20 degrees. Now this is roughly how I'm going to be holding the knife the whole time. Now I'm going to move it back, and then as I'm sharpening, trying to hold that position as smoothly and as carefully as possible while also going back and forth. And at the same time, I'm going to be walking my fingers down the whole edge of the knife, so that way I'll apply even pressure to the whole edge, not just on the tip or the back or the middle. So I'm going to be walking it down as I sharpen, so that way there's a good nice edge through the whole thing. And you can keep going back to your angle block to make sure that you're holding it right, moving all the way up to the edge, and then button up against it to make sure that you're holding it right. Now that's one way you can practice. And then the same is going to apply, but whenever you're going the opposite direction. Now I'm going to start off completely opposite what I was doing. Instead of the tip, the back. I'm going to line up my angle and move it up. And as I pull back, it's going to be the same motions and everything, except for I'm going to be walking towards the tip instead of away from it. Now whenever you're doing this, you want to apply pressure whenever you're pulling away from the edge, because you don't want that edge to be pushing down too much pressure as you're going towards the edge of the block. Because doing that, you could accidentally mess up and dig into the edge of the stone and dull your knife. Now that's just one way of sharpening on a whetstone with angle blocks. Now the other method is you can just take your block, turn it completely sideways, or you can actually leave it just like this, however you want. But you'll take your knife, set it on that edge, and then just slice across it. Move it, and slice across. Now with this method, it's a lot more controlled, so you don't have to worry about too much of accidentally digging into that stone, because you're able to hold it a little bit easier without it accidentally wobbling and digging into the sharpening block and dulling your edge. But like I said, this way could be a little bit slower because you're going to be alternating each side. And if you don't have the angle down right and you're constantly moving your block side to side to be able to hold it, it could take a little bit longer. But this way is really easy to do because you just set it on there and pull through. And you just keep flip-flopping it over and over. Now you can start off like this and then just slice through and just count to, let's just say 20. Do 20, 20, and then start working off that burr to where you slice through each time until you knock that burr off. So this is a really easy version, and you can also turn the whole edge like this and then just sharpen like that and then pull the knife towards you at the same time. Now those two are super easy versions of sharpening a knife on a whetstone. And then again, at the same time, if your knife isn't incredibly dull, this method will be able to sharpen it fairly fast because you don't have to do as many passes. But like I said, the reason why I started out doing knife sharpening like this is just because I honestly thought it looked cool. So if you didn't feel like learning or practicing in this style, you don't have to. Because it does take a little bit more time, in my opinion, because there is more chances to mess up. But once you get this style down, you'll be able to sharpen knives faster, and you'll be able to get a really sharp edge. So having something to be able to help you start out and maintain that angle definitely going to help out. But over time, you're going to be able to hold these angles no matter what direction you sharpen, with just kind of roughly setting it on there and feeling for the edge. Now this isn't going to be a pick it up and start sharpening in one day kind of situation. It takes quite a bit of time to be able to actually get good at both of these methods. Now there's going to be a good amount of time that you're going to spend sharpening your knife to be able to get a good consistent angle and get a good sharp edge. Unless you're just naturally talented. For me, I wasn't. It took me a long time. But with whetstone sharpening, if you did get into it, you're definitely going to love sharpening a knife. And then again, at the same time, you can start out with one method of sharpening and always transition to a different method. Yeah, it might take a little bit of time to relearn that new method, but you're already going to have the basics down and you're already going to know how to hold the knife. But that's just a simple rundown of exactly how to start out. Now you're going to have to start practicing with those more and more. I'm going to be making more videos on this and going more in depth on how to hold the knife, because there's different ways you're going to hold the knife while you're sharpening on a whetstone, oil stone. Because one method you're going to be holding it like this, another you're going to be flipping it, moving your fingers around. But thanks for watching. Drop a comment on what you want to see next for our next video.